Hi, welcome to the Relax and Breathe Summit. I'm your host, Pompey Strader-Vidal, and today we have a special guest, davidji. Welcome, davidji. I'm so happy to have you here.
Namaste. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much. It's exciting and pretty enthusiastic about being part of this process. So
Oh,
I'm great to be on board with you.
Great. So could we start off, could you just talk a little bit about your work and your background and kind of what inspired you to take up the path of being a meditation teacher?
Sure. I started meditating when I was in college. It was an experimental Asian studies course, and there were 12 of us. It was a Zen meditation. We sat in a circle. Our instructor stood in the corner. We were instructed that when we had a thought, we were supposed to raise our hands. In his hand, he carried an 18-inch bamboo stick known as a
Ah,
kiss.
yes.
And when we kissed our hands, he would come over and thwack us on the back. So I only lasted in that school of meditation a couple of weeks. I found myself lying to my Zen master. I didn't want to get hit.
I never carry a stick myself, so just to let you know.
Right. I'm a little reactive now when I see someone with a stick. Like, no, it's a meditation teacher. And so I left that school of meditation. You know, when you find yourself lying to your Zen master,
It's not a good sign.
it's time to move on. So over the years, I dabbled and explored lots of different types of meditation. I explored drishti, candle gazing, and I explored tantra and mantra and some Buddhist bhavanas, vipassana, mindfulness, they call it now mostly.
Right.
I got involved in all these different types of meditations, and that one I probably hung on to for about 5-6 years. But I just kept falling off. You know, I would try it and fall off, try it and fall off. And then I got more deeply involved in the corporate world, and I got deeper and deeper and deeper into the whole corporate thing. And ultimately, I was a mergers and acquisitions advisor.
Right.
And I realized that I had traded in my morning meditation for an early morning train ride to the World Trade Center. And I was totally out of balance. My relationships were in flux, and caustic would describe them at best. And I didn't understand what my purpose was. I didn't understand what my dharma. I was in a job and doing it well, but I wasn't really feeling fulfilled. I didn't really like the people that I was working with. I don't know that they liked me either. And I was about as far away from that, those moments of balance that I had had over the years leading up to that. And in the wake of 9/11, I was walking in southern Manhattan in Soho, past a row of cardboard boxes that people were living in, and a hand reached out, grabbed my pant leg, and this face peered up at me and said, "What's going to be on your tombstone?" That's
Wow.
it's a fairly reflective moment, and I really wandered around and was struck by that. To this day, I think that was definitely God speaking to me through this stranger. But I unplugged from that whole world. Really, my wife suggested that I check out a meditation retreat that Deepak Chopra was hosting in Oxford, England. And in the wake of 9/11, not a lot of people were flying. So I headed off to Oxford to hang out with Deepak. And it was fortunate because instead of there being like 500 people, there were, 1/10 of that. And so I connected to him. It was a beautiful love connection. He's an amazing being. So I meditated with him for about 7 days. And each day that we spent the whole day just meditating and using mantra meditation, the pain of, I was in a very, very dark space, and my relationships were very challenged. And I was hurting a lot in the wake of 9/11. And each day of meditation, my heart got a little lighter and a little lighter and a little lighter. And by the fourth day, I really was in this space of, wow, I actually, I can feel joy again. I can feel, a sense of lightness, of sweetness, which had been gone from my life for probably a decade. And then I asked Deepak, what should I do now? I really need to find the guru. So he said, well, head off to India. So I headed off to India. Right after, just from one to another, I just flew from Oxford to India and spent about 6 months in search of the guru. searching high and low, and went to Dharamsala to see His Holiness Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
He wasn't there that day. And, I traveled around into the deserts of Rajasthan, into the bathed in the Ganges, meditated and prayed every morning. Really just looking and looking and looking and searching. And I talk about this in a lot greater detail in my book Secrets of Meditation.
Yes.
But one morning I was laying in a hammock in a cashew forest in Kerala, southern
classic.
India, and I was reading the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, that's what you read when you're laying in a hammock in Kerala. And I read chapter 2, verse 48, which I had read hundreds of times, and suddenly it's where Arjuna and Krishna are talking, and Arjuna says, well, how shall I live my life? And Krishna says, yogastha kuru karmani, which I translate as establish yourself in yogastha, oneness, union, and then perform action. And it hit me. I had this aha moment, and I suddenly realized the guru rests inside. The answers to every single question we could ever ask truly rests inside.
Yes.
We just have to quiet ourselves down enough so we can hear those whispers inside of us, hear the whispers of God and hear the whispers of our heart. And I raced back home, and it was about a 40-hour bus ride to get to Mumbai. And then another 20 hours waiting in the airport, and then another 15-hour flight. But ultimately, when I got home, friends of mine said, all you do now is sit around and meditate. I said, yeah, I think I've really connected to that stillness that rests within. And they said, well, if you really want to learn something, learn to teach it. And they said, you're friends with Deepak now. Why don't you go and check him out? So I flew out to California to visit Deepak, and I said, listen, I think I've found the answers here. I have a very special skill set. I'm a business guy. I'm a mergers and acquisitions specialist. I think I could really take the Chopra Center to the next level. And in exchange, maybe if you could just, teach me stuff or expose me to teachings or guide me in some way. And David Simon, the co-founder of the Chopra Center, he and I became best friends, and he was an amazing mentor to me. He passed away in 2012. But for 10 years, I got to really travel and teach with Deepak and David, and ultimately to study with some of the greatest teachers of our time and to meet some of the most amazing beings in all categories of life. And I believe that you can have a balance between business and spirit, or business and wellness. I think you don't have to suddenly go off the deep end and become one thing or the other. I think a little too much business and you lose your soul in the process. And we all know businesses and leaders who have gone that route. And I think a little too much spirituality within the corporate context, you can go out of business. So I think it's a gentle balance. And over those years, I navigated those worlds, and sometimes going too far in either direction. But I learned a lot in that process. And in 2012, I figured, you know what? It's time for me to actually launch out there and take these teachings into the real world, teach in corporations, teach law enforcement, the military, teach people who are
I love that program you have for the police.
Starving, those people starving for this, and they don't, they've been like, what? It sounds so woo-woo and cool and spiritual. And so I began sort of like retranslating all these teachings into a more practical application so that anybody, no matter where they are, could actually access them. And I'm still on that journey, and that's still what I spend my time. And I just finished a manuscript a couple of weeks ago for my second book with Hay House called De-Stressifying.
Great.
And it's an exploration of meeting our needs and heightening our emotional intelligence, expanding our awareness through meditation, awareness of ourself, awareness of our surroundings, and awareness of the people around us, and really discovering our dharma. Because I really feel so many people are lost because they don't know what to do, and they have some inspiration, but they don't know where to direct it. And so I think that we can, quote, de-stressify if we heighten our awareness, if we raise our emotional intelligence, if we meet our needs more regularly, if we communicate more consciously, and most importantly, if we can find our noble purpose and at least start moving towards it so we can help heal and serve other people using our unique gifts and our special talents. So that's what I do now. I travel the world trying to help translate some of this kookier, most amazing, timeless wisdom into digestible, practical, accessible, real world action steps so people can pretty much experience their best version, flow their best version, and live lives with deeper fulfillment and greater grace and greater ease.
Wow, that's just an incredible story that you have. I'm so glad that you shared it with us. And, for me, that's what's brought me kind of into the world of the internet myself, not at the level you are, but just to reach out with all the knowledge and training and background that I have to people and make it available, especially to young people, especially to like the millennial generation, to reach out to them and to touch them and to let them know, hey, like you said, there's another way to go through life.
Right.
And,
And I'm not saying that people who are in the business world are doing anything wrong. I didn't have the tools. I didn't know that there were tools. And so that's what I want to really help people with. It's just is finding those tools and using those tools so they can have it all. So you can have a real job and know that the divine is coming into you. So that you can work, lots of hours, but work on something that you're passionate about, something that really adds value to so many other people in the world. So I don't work any less in terms of hours. But I work on what I love every day, and I get to really, in my opinion, talk about things that I like to talk about and share teachings that I think have value for other people. And I believe everyone can do that. I don't think it's an either or proposition. We're whole. We're these whole beings filled with our shadow and our light, our darkness, our pain and our magnificence. And I think that if we can embrace that and understand what that whole all means, I think we can really take powerful steps and transform the world around us by transforming ourselves.
oh, that's just so eloquently put. And I love, when I was looking on your website, I just love all the programs and the material that you have there that capture the essence of what you're talking about, that you just have such wide range and that you're reaching out to communities that would normally kind of push away this kind of knowledge.
Yeah.
And especially I saw the training that you had for the police. That's
Yes.
really timely because they're getting a lot's coming down on them lately.
Yeah, I mean this week, Baltimore was on fire, and actually this weekend I head out to Aurora, Illinois, and spend some time with the Blue Courage team. It's sort of like a train the trainer process. I don't expect that I'm going to walk into 1,000 police academies across the country and they're going to look at me and listen to what I have to say. But I found these amazing people who are funded by the Department of Justice, and I've been working with them for about 3 years now. And it started with a core group of 5 people, and now it's up to 26. And these are cops from all over the country. And then we spend some time together, a couple of days, and then they go back to LAPD and Boston PD and San Francisco PD and Miami PD and Chicago. And then they go back as active law enforcement and teach people resilience, patience, breathing, restoring the nobility of policing. Because like anything else, there's a few bad apples in every industry and in everything. And I think there's a conversation that needs to change, not just in our country, but in this process already, that the police are the partners of the communities, not the enemy or the boss of those communities. And there's a lot of healing that needs to be done, and there's a lot of racial charge in all these conversations that are going on, whether it's in Missouri or whether it's in different parts of the country, or whether it's in Baltimore. But I think that by being more aware, by infusing them with a little more compassion and understanding, It's a tough job. I just want to, we don't need to. This is
I
not
agree.
this is not all about cops, but let me just share three
Yeah,
statistics
no,
about.
that would be great.
So first of all, it's the number one suicide uh, profession in the United States. More cops kill themselves than any other profession that exists. Number two, their average lifespan from date of retirement is only 5 years. And these aren't guys retiring at 70, they're retiring at 45, 50. And most of all, their children are 3 times more likely to commit suicide than any other children. And so we need to help these people heal and become whole. And they're probably the largest group, them in the military, who've been resisting this stuff because it's been presented sometimes in a culty or kooky or a weird way that we flow with so easily and effortlessly. But they're like this. No, and that's why I like working with the corporate world.
Right.
I work with Bank America and I work with Lululemon and I work with a lot of other companies out there, and they're progressive and forward thinking and they're integrating this. And as long as you can language it, so people don't feel that you're getting in the way of their religious beliefs or that
Right.
you're getting in the way of some of their deeper foundational aspects, they fully embrace it. If you say to someone, "You're living an amazing life. Would you like to live longer, or do you want to have a heart attack at 45? Let me help you." It's called breathing. You've heard of that,
Yes, hence the name Relax and Breathe for my summit.
right? Perfect. And we can talk about this later, but I do. I'm offering to all of your participants in this process.
No,
Uh,
go ahead. Talk
uh,
about it now. It's fine.
okay, a free guided meditation. You have to. It's surfing with the universe.
Nice.
And the coupon code to get it for free is relax, breathe. So you just have to type relax, breathe, find the Surfing with the Universe meditation, type in, buy it, go to the store. And when you are downloading it, you just type in relax, breathe, and it comes to you for free. So
Yeah.
thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that with all of your listeners and watchers and participants.
Well, that's great. And at the end of our interview, it should pop up on the screen, so they
Oh,
should be
great.
able to see they should be able to see the opt-in box, and they should be able to have information to access it. But thanks for explaining it and bringing it up. And so, should we give them like a little taste of like a meditation now? What do you think?
That would be great. Because I teach a lot of high stressed individuals and a
Yes.
lot of people who are have a lot of pressure on them. If you're listening right now, if you're watching right now, and you're participating, and your life is blissed out, then great. Then maybe this can help you, and you can share this with others. But everybody's got something that's irritating them a little bit, or saddening them, or maddening them, or frustrating them, or leading to that. So there's this technique that I have taught. I've taught the military with it. I've taught law enforcement. I've taught corporations, and I've taught rooms full of yogis. And I call it 16 seconds. And the reason I like it so much is it will actually help you understand that we can direct our thoughts, that in any moment we can move into the present moment. We can step out of the past and out of the future into this sacred, precious present moment. And at the same time, that we can use this almost so many people claim they meditate, but when I was just in Denver
Right.
this past weekend, and there were about 1,200 people in my class, and I said, okay, how many of you have never meditated? And 5 people sheepishly raised their hands. There's probably another 30 who didn't. They were embarrassed. And I said, how many have been meditating for 20 years, twice a day, 30 minutes a day? And another 5 people raised their hand. That meant another 1,100 are crisis meditators. And I believe most people are crisis meditators. And they don't meditate. They know it. They did it. They like it. It was fun. But they're not going to use it until a crisis comes along. And so I think that if we only brushed our teeth when the cavity crisis came along, we would have no teeth left.
Nice. I like that analogy. I'm keeping that one.
So there are certain things we just need to show up and do every day, and then our lives are just more beautiful because of it. So, we wake up every morning and we brush our teeth. We get in the shower. There's rarely a day where we say, you know what? Let them deal with me today. I'm not brushing and I'm not showering. We don't really do that. And that's because we've ritualized it. And so we need to ritualize our meditation practice. And here's a great way to start.
Great.
So first, everyone should try to think about, in your mind's eye, sort of envision an irritation that's happened in your life in the last 2, 3, 5, 7 days. Don't go too deep. This is not therapy. But just, someone said they were going to do something and they didn't, or something that you didn't expect happened. Something took you by surprise. Something was supposed to happen and it didn't. Maybe there's a person involved in this process and you can see their face and you can feel either your frustration or your disappointment or your sadness or your grief or your, irritation over it. And maybe you even feel that someplace in your body, someplace, maybe in your belly or your chest or your throat or your heart, someplace along those lines. And now close your eyes and through your nostrils, take a long, slow, deep breath in and feel the breath and watch it as it goes into your belly and then hold it once it gets to your belly. Just hold it there and watch it and witness it and observe it. And now slowly let that breath go and watch it as it moves up your chest, up your throat, into your sinuses, out through your nostrils, and then hold the breath out and watch it and witness it and observe it as it dissipates into the ether. And now breathe normally. And when it feels comfortable, you can open your eyes. And so that was, welcome back, everyone. And that was 16 seconds. And in those 16 seconds, if you were playing along, because I'm sure there are a bunch of you who opted not to play along, you're like, I'm not going to let this, what's going to happen here? So if you were playing along, you were not in the past and you were not in the future. If you were playing along, you were fully present. If you were playing along, you weren't actually thinking about the irritation, the disappointment, the grievance, or whatever. You left that. And I didn't say, oh, come on, now stop thinking about that thing and now put your attention here. We just closed our eyes and drifted our attention to our breath. That was the object of our attention. So in those 16 seconds, everybody was fully present. Everybody was in the present moment. And we were able to direct our thoughts without having to do anything with the 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day that pour into us. So just by drifting our attention to our breath, we're able to do that. Do it 4 times, that's a minute. Do it 20 times, that's 5 minutes. And so wherever you are, you can just stop. You can do this in traffic. You can do this in a meeting. Obviously, if you're in traffic, keep your eyes open. You can do this while you're waiting on a line, while you're surfing the internet, while you're on a phone conversation, while you're reading email, whatever the process is. We all have 16 seconds. And when I'm teaching the military, or when I started teaching it to groups of yogis, I called it 16 seconds to Ananda. Nice. Then as I rolled it out to more like-minded people, I changed it to 16 seconds to bliss, since not everyone knows what Ananda means.
Yes.
When I started teaching in the corporate world, I changed the name to 16 seconds to clarity.
Nice.
And when I'm working with the military or law enforcement, I call it tactical breathing.
I like that.
And so it's the same thing. It's just a question of how you translate it. And so we can all do it. And we have the ability to do that. And I'm not telling people, don't run away from your thoughts. As Pema Chodron would say, live with your emotions. Sort of like settle with them. If you can face them, you can understand them. And over time, they're not so powerful and they don't control us. But there are times where we're suddenly feeling a fight-flight mode surge into us, where we're going to get reactive, and hormones and chemicals are ruling us, and we're about to say something we'll regret, which is not our best version, or about to do something that is just reactionary and not really based on in any level of mindfulness or even any context of a purposeful act, spontaneous right thought, spontaneous right action, spontaneous right speech. We're so far away from that, but we can come back to that very, very quickly through a simple 16-second technique. So I love teaching that. And right now there's probably a couple of 100,000 people around the world who do practice it. And when I teach people, everyone claims they have a meditation practice, but I know you don't. I know, not you, of course. You do. But most people are just like, oh yeah, I'm waiting for the next crisis, and then I'll find my Zen. And I think that if we just added a minute to that, just 1 minute every week, start with 16 seconds. Next week, do a minute 16. The week after that, 2 minutes 16. Do that for less than half a year. And suddenly you've got a locked down 20-minute practice. And so I think that what I encourage people to do always, and this is really, this goes back to like, what do I teach people and all the different programs. I encourage people to find the thing that resonates with them. And I'm not trying to force someone, if you don't like following your breath, then find a mantra. You don't like, mantra meditation, then find something to gaze at and do a visual, drishti
Right.
meditation. You don't like that either, then, succumb and surrender to Deva Pramal and just listen and Snadam Kaur and listen to amazing music. There's so many access points that each of us can have, but I truly believe that when we can quiet ourselves down, we can connect so deeply to our most genuine self. And, that goes back to Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras, where he said, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Oneness, union, yoga is the progressive quieting of the fluctuations of the mind. And so how cool is that? We all can do it. Everyone can access it. It doesn't matter what your profession is, what your race or gender or culture or any of that stuff. We all have the ability to connect to our most genuine self, where we'll make more conscious choices, we'll make more spontaneous right actions, and we'll live lives of deeper fulfillment. Just coming from that simple 16-second practice as your starting point.
I totally agree. That's hence the title, Relax and Breathe.
Nice.
And thank you. That was wonderful. And can you, before we end, can you just share with people some of the things that they can access through your wonderful website and your radio show and,
Sure.
all that kind of stuff?
Well, first of all, I can't believe our time is flying by.
I know. We
It's
can hang out for another hour.
It's so great speaking to you. You're so filled with light. So it's just such a joy to just like, I wish I could hang out with you a lot more. So thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome.
Yes, my teacher training is called the Masters of Wisdom and Meditation Teacher Training, and that's because I access so many different types of masters from Pema Chodron and Thich Nhat Hanh and the Buddha and Vedanta and the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads and the Mahabharata and Adi Shankara and Patanjali and Yogananda, and, so many different access points because some of them won't resonate. So I try to pour Niagara Falls into people and then see what they hold on to, what they're passionate about. It's like, you love that? Then go there. Become the expert in that. So that's one thing that I really am excited about, that teacher training. We've had our 5th teacher training now. We're up to about 100 people around the world.
Nice.
Who are sharing it in their own way, expressing this timeless wisdom through their own styles and expressions. But you can go to davidji.com, davidji. After I was working at the Trepper Center for like 6 months, Deepak and David had an intervention with me. They said, we can't call you David anymore. I said, my mother named me David because in the Bible that means beloved. What do you mean you can't call me David? They said, we're going to call you davidji. Because J-I is a term of reverence in Hindi, and that means beloved. So you're beloved. So I was like, I'll take that. So my website is davidji.com, and you can join the David G Sweet Spot community, and that gives you, and it's free, and that gives you access to hundreds of free guided meditations. And they all have a little silent part. So there is whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes of just silence as part of the whole process. So there's music and there's a little lesson, but there's also, and some of them, everyone who downloads this free meditation,
right.
You'll sort of experience what that is like. And essentially that's, surfing with the universe. But there's manifesting your desires and healing your heart and setting your intentions and so many different, as many universal issues that there are. This is probably a meditation that I've created for that. And you get, every Friday, you get a free meditation. It's our weekend meditation. You'll be meditating with tens of thousands of people around the world. You can access the hundreds of articles that I've written on how to sit, where to sit, what is this whole thing, what happens if I have thoughts, What happens if this magical energy comes into me and starts speaking to me? Is that God, or is it just my ego? All sorts of information answering those timeless questions. And I will never share your data with anyone under any circumstances. And you can always unsubscribe if you don't like it. So I encourage you, go there and become part of that community. And I also have events on discovering your Dharma and on de-stressifying. And every year I take a group to the Mexican Riviera, Maya Tulum. We take over the resort, and for a week we just meditate, practice yoga, go swimming in this warm blue waters, drum, dance, do all sorts of, do release ceremonies. It's a really, hike in, ancient ruins. It's a pretty kooky thing. So there's something for everyone, and there's something for every ability to make that investment. If you're lucky enough to have some abundance in your life, then join me on one of these journeys. And if things are really tight and you're putting your attention and money in other places, you can access all this stuff for free. And all the proceeds from my book, Secrets of Meditation, go to charity. So even if someone just buys one book, that this month, for the month of May, all of the proceeds that I'm taking are going to Nepalese relief.
Oh, how wonderful!
So that's something near and dear to me as well. But money goes to break dogs out of shelters and to help people in hospice and the homeless and breast cancer and all the things that mean something to me. So so that's a way. If someone just wants to donate and at the same time get an experience, you can always get a copy of Secrets of Meditation. But I encourage people to do something, even if you just sit and do that 16 seconds. Sending love out into the world, because we do transform the world by transforming ourselves. And we can point to all these things that are horrible outside of us happening, and we can grieve and be sad over them, but we can actually do something. We can be more loving to the people that we live with. And we can be more forgiving to those that we haven't spoken to in a while. We can have more compassion for someone that we've been holding a grudge against. So that's where we can actually make the difference right now. Rather than waiting for your money to arrive in some far off land to help someone who's in pain. How about the person, who's 20 feet away from you or that you work with? So I think we have an obligation to keep raising our own vibration and take our lives to the next level.
Oh, thank you so much. And I think that's a great place to end our interview. And I really enjoyed meeting you. I really enjoyed speaking with you, and blessings to all your teaching and all your work, and namaste.
Namaste, Pompey. Thank you so much for your magnificent light and for your work that you're doing and for this amazing summit that you're holding. So I think, remember the power of your ripple. You're touching so many thousands of people, and I think, you're transforming the world as you transform as well. So namaste, and thank you so much.